Hi everyone, my name is Abby Hicks and I'm a fourth year defender on the York University women's hockey team. I'm here today with alumni Jamie Endrizzi, joining me from London, where she is with the National Police Chiefs Council as a senior project manager for violence against women and girls. Jamie, thank you for joining me today to discuss this important topic.
No problem. Absolute pleasure.
Could you start by telling us a little bit about your time at York University and as a member of the women's hockey team?
Yeah, sure. Seems like a long time ago now. Yeah, so I was a member of the squad for the full 5 years. I was also a defender, and I majored in history while I was there. My time there was fantastic. I've met some of my really close friends that I still speak to now, even though I'm in the UK, who I know I'll be friends with for a very very long time. But being there was probably one of the best experiences of my life. Being a student athlete, the ability to train and learn, and then also the leadership and qualities that you get while you're on the team as well. Being a team player, being dedicated to something that's everyone's doing together and striving for a common goal is something that I've taken with me into my career and into my life. But yeah, it was just one of, like I said, a fantastic experience and something that I'll always treasure.
Yeah, I completely agree. Coming into the end of my years, it's definitely something I think I'm always going to remember and very grateful for.
Yeah, absolutely.
From there, how did you get into policing?
Right. So yeah, so majoring in history is it's a bit of a departure from the policing world.
Yeah.
But yeah, my family history, they've always been in law and policing, and it was something that I sort of decided that was something that I also wanted to pursue as my own career. So I actually ended up going to London, England, where I majored in crime science at the University College London. And that's where I completed my master's. And then it was there that I sort of, fell in love with the idea of making the world a better place, doing something bigger than myself, and just making sure that wherever anyone is, that they will feel safe, and have somewhere they feel that they can go to be supported if the worst were to ever happen. And that's something that's really important to me. So being in this field, yeah, it's something that now I've been doing for about 12 years. So firmly in it, and something that I know I'll continue with throughout my career.
Yeah, that's awesome. So post graduation from York, you went and studied in London. What kind of brought you to London to study after?
Yeah, so studying there, I mean, London, it's an amazing city. So it was something that was a complete change from being in Toronto and growing up in Toronto. But the program there is unlike any. So it's their crime science program, which is under the Jill Dando Institute, which is an internationally recognized department within crime science. So I wanted to basically get the best education that I could within that field, so that to better prepare me for whatever career I ended up being in after that. So that's what brought me there academically. But then, of course, like I said, what a city! So it's the history of it, the fast pace of the city. It's an unbelievable place. I definitely recommend it. Anyone who hasn't been there, definitely go. And the education there as well. It's also really worth looking at international options.
Yeah, it sounds like an incredible experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Could you tell us a bit about your role at the National Police Chiefs Council and why violence against women and girls has become such a national policing priority?
So at the NPCC, my role focuses on the coordinating of the national strategy around supporting police forces across the UK. So again, that's sharing best practice around what is working in supporting survivors, and then also what might not be working so well, and just being able to coordinate that best practice across all these different forces, which work in all their own different ways and have their own local issues that they have to deal with. So in a nutshell, that's what my role is there. I think as a national policing priority, it's no longer just a criminal justice priority. This is a societal issue. It's something that affects all of us, and it's something that maybe isn't spoken about as much as it should have been previously, but is now getting the real attention, the support through finances that it should have, and it should as it deserves, just to help improve trust and confidence in communities, and particularly in women and girls who are victims and survivors. So that's why this is such important work, and it's something that is continuing to gain momentum.
What are some of the biggest challenges police forces face when tackling violence against women and girls today?
So some of the biggest challenges, I think the biggest one being at the moment is improving trust and confidence. So there have been a lot of high profile cases, particularly in the UK, and as I'm sure there have been in Canada as well, where survivors may not been felt may have not felt or have been supported as much as they should be through the process of, you know, declaring something that has happened to them. So I think right now that is the biggest challenge that police forces have, is that sort of public perception, and then of course a training aspect as well around showing empathy towards victims, and just making sure that if there is something that is disclosed or a victim does come forward, that they do feel supported throughout the whole process. That right now I think is the biggest challenge that we have, is providing that sort of training package across forces, again, just to make sure that people do come forward, and if they don't, that there are other avenues such as partnership working that they can go to discuss anything that might have happened to them. So that's something that I think has been recognized by a lot of police forces recently, and that's why that partnership and collaboration is so important as well.
Yeah. Sounds like support has been kind of a key theme with this as well. Can you share an example of an initiative or an intervention that you've seen make a real difference?
So one initiative that has been really big in the UK has been the Ask Her Angela project. That is a nighttime economy focused initiative around upskilling staff in clubs, bars, around a way of helping a woman, for example, who might not feel safe on a night out, on a date. Um, they're able to go to staff, identify or alert them to an issue that's going on, and then be taken to a safe space within that business. So the idea is they go to the bar and they ask, "Is Angela there?" So once they get that, the staff member understands that's the sort of the key word to say, well, okay, this woman, this young girl is in trouble. We need to remove them from a situation, and then they are upskilled. And at the same time, the staff member knows we bring them to a safe space, separate them from whoever they're there with, or might be following them, for example, and identify, how the best way they can support them, but also contacting authorities if they want those authorities to be contacted, or their own security who work there, or managers. So there's that sort of wraparound support of a business. Might not necessarily be the police, but it's getting a young woman or a girl out of that situation, or a woman, just removing them so that they can then figure out, well, do I want to disclose something that's happened to me, or did I just want to be separated from the situation? So it gives them a little bit more of control around the situation, but in a very discreet and private way.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Do you happen to know how much it's been used?
Yeah, so this is something that's been embedded within the UK now for, I would say, it's going to be years now. It's now gotten to the point where the initiative is so widely used that it is now part of the general sort of training that nighttime economy venues have. I would say, for staff, is like a regular safeguarding way, of keeping women and young girls safe. So, and it's something that the police also circulate to businesses, to make sure that they're trained and understand, if this code word is used, for example, what that might mean. And because of this, there's been now offsets of that sort of project. So certain venues might actually have different names that they use, that they'll put at the back of a woman's toilet stall and say, "Are you in trouble? ask for this name, for example, and do their own initiatives and actually innovatively think about how can we continue to safeguard young women and girls in our own way. Do we have the right space to keep them safe? Is there anything more that we can do as a venue? So that's something that's really good. It's being built upon now rather than how it was before. It's now being, changed in many different ways. So yeah, and then of course different initiatives are added to it. So spiking initiatives are then added, and so it's sort of created this movement around how can nighttime economies be better in safeguarding.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. Definitely something that's needed and makes women feel more safe going out as well.
Yeah.
How do partnerships with schools, charities, communities, night venues help in tackling violence against women and girls beyond policing alone?
Yeah, it's actually really really vital because it's not necessarily someone who's been victimized wants to go to police. They might actually feel a lot more comfortable speaking to someone who's independent of the police. So having those partnerships with sort of independent advisors, for example, or women's support groups, it's really really important because those groups also do have partnerships with the police. So say for example a woman or young girl decides they don't want to put a police case in yet. They just want someone to listen to them. They'll be supported through that process. But if they decide to change their mind and say, actually, yes, I do want to go to the police, they'll be supported through that process as well. So as an advocate for them. So I think it's really important that it's not just a police initiative. It's a working with women's groups, it's working with schools, it's working with universities, who all play a part, who actually might be that sort of trusted organization to someone who might be easier to go to than a police force.
Yeah, that's very powerful as well. In your experience, what is the least talked about aspect of the issue that deserves more attention?
Yeah, so I would say that the least talked about aspect of violence against women and girls is something that is probably becoming actually more and more talked about, which scarily done so, is the online world of violence against women and girls, where your perpetrator might actually be someone across the world. It makes it a lot harder for police to be able to track those individuals and support victims of crime as well. So that's an area where it's getting a lot more academic attention on the impact that that's having on victims, but also something that we're looking at as well, and other sort of overarching police bodies on how we can better support police forces in looking at the online space. So that's, I would say, something that's it will probably be more of an issue that we'll be seeing, but hopefully, with other organizations, we'll be able to help sort of support those sort of online issues more.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I would not have guessed that as becoming a broader issue, but with the growth in social media, it does make sense. Uh,
Yeah, social media makes it a lot easier
yeah,
to be able to perpetrate harm against women and girls. Unfortunately, it's a great communicative tool of connecting people, but it's also something that we're seeing that's being used, and also having those spaces, like physical spaces, to support individuals who are victims online, like in person, because actually it's easier sometimes to connect with someone, maybe feel a bit safer to connect and speak to someone about something that might have happened if it's an online space as well. So there's the harm of online, and then there's the good and supporting side of the online space.
yeah, for sure. What role do men play in being part of the solution?
I think men play actually quite a crucial part. Women are disproportionately victims and survivors of violence against women and girls, and it's if you have that sort of allyship with men, it's a lot more powerful to be able to share that message. So the interesting thing is that it's it's something that men can challenge day to day, not to normalize that behavior of sexism. If something you hear something that it doesn't sound right, it's about just challenging your friends, making that sort of talk or language something that's not the norm. It's about challenging that behavior because it's the small everyday things that we can do that'll make women and girls feel safer. So that's a huge part. And of course, just being involved in initiatives like the one you're putting on. So just showing that support, showing up for women and saying, we support you. This is something that is very much a female, women's, girls centered issue. And we understand that, males are primarily the ones who are perpetrating this sort of stuff. And we don't stand for that. And it's really important to have that voice.
Yeah. Looking ahead, what gives you hope about progress in reducing violence against women and girls?
Yeah, I think I'm really encouraged by the growing awareness and openness to discuss these issues. I think events like the ones that York Women's Ice Hockey Team are putting on will help raise a lot more conversation and awareness around the issue. Within policing, we're seeing a real cultural change as well, where it might have been that it was something that might have not dealt with as well as it should have been. It's now an understanding that as police, we can do better in supporting victims. And I think as a university, kind of going back to see what you're doing, there are so many young women and girls that go there. It's important as a student body to come together and really really talk about this because it is such an important issue. It is something that impacts so many women, and the fact that you're coming together as a men and women's ice hockey team really pushes that. Again, talking about that male allyship, that this is not something that is to stand for. This is how we can support you, and we're just going to say enough's enough. Women should feel safe.
Yeah, and that's powerful too. Thank you so much, Jamie, for joining me today. It's truly been a pleasure speaking with you and learning from you. If you could leave our listeners with one action they can take to help address violence against women and girls, what would it be?
I would say just start where you are, have the conversation. Really small actions do have a big impact. So it's about challenging a comment, supporting a, a friend who might need you to listen. It's just the little things that I think that will make the biggest difference in creating a cultural change to helping women and young girls feel a lot safer. But if this is something that the fact that we're having this conversation now, that it will be going out is again, it's a step in that right direction. And what you guys are doing around having this game is important as part of that conversation. So thank you so much for putting that on. It's important to discuss, and yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you again, Jamie. For everyone listening, if you are able, please come and support this important cause at the York Women's Hockey's Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls game on November 27th and look to donate to the North York Women's Shelter at the link in the post. Thank you.
Thank you so much.